I'm actually going to start with a story. Um, and it's a story that actually it's something that happened this past week. Some of you may know I work at a hospital in Medford, Oregon. I live in Ashland, work in Medford, and the Medford Hospital is going through, it's called the Asante Rogue Regional Hospital, and it's going through some financial challenges, some pretty like millions, many millions of dollars upside down financial crises. And apparently a lot of the hospitals across the country are in this similar situation since COVID. But we got a new CEO in, and he is kind of going to be there will be cuts, and we have to balance the budget, and all this, and there have been some layoffs, in some upper layoffs, which I was kind of happy to see. There have been some layoffs, and there's going to be more, and it's like everything's on the table. And as you might imagine, upper management's not handling it really that gracefully, and my coworkers are freaking out. Many of them are quite a bit younger than I am, and they maybe haven't been through this. I've seen various versions of this before, and no matter what, I tell them or their boss tells them, they're still freaking out. So my boss is a sweetie, and she is with her two other bosses of other departments. They're having this meeting, and it was this last, whatever, I don't know when it was, but it was this last week. They have this big meeting. And the idea of the meeting is to be transparent and give people information as to what the status of these layoffs are and the financial crisis and the cuts and everything else, because the workers are convinced they're going to get laid off and fired and be destitute and live under a bridge. So they are like doing this meeting, and it's kind of this Q&A thing, and it goes, I thought it went very well. And so I was just chatting with my boss after. She was one of the three speakers, and then the other two, and so I just said, so how are you doing, man? Like, how's it going? That must have been quite a week for you. And she's just like, yeah. And she sometimes will vent a little bit with me. I don't know, but she just does. And I was listening, and she's just like, oh, I'm so worried that I didn't say the right stuff. And a few of the other two bosses, one of them especially, didn't handle it quite as gracefully as she did. And so she was kind of worried. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe she said that. And I said, and I was listening to her much like I listen when I'm in a session or a ceremony or a sharing circle. I mean, I wasn't my role, but still, I was just listening. And then what I do when I'm in a session, I listen, and then the things come to me, and then I say the things that come to me. That's kind of how I do a session. And so I'm listening, and it just came to me really clear. It's like, she's like, what about this? It was so awful when she said this. It's like, the thing that came to me is like, none of that matters. And I said, I thought it went really, really well. And it just like, none of that matters. And she's like, how come? And I said, because they can tell how much you care. They can tell, how much you're fighting for them, how much you're advocating for them, how transparent you're being, how honest you're being. They sense that. And it does. So at that point, it doesn't matter. It certainly matters what you say, but it doesn't matter as much if someone says the wrong thing, because they can feel that you care about them and that you have their back as much as you can. And that's all that really matters. And she was like, really? And I even said to her, it's like, it's almost like you can't really screw this up. If you just continue caring and being yourself, you can't really screw it up. You're not going to say the wrong thing and upset the apple cart. That's not going to happen. Even if you do, it's not going to matter, because they're still going to sense that you care. Now, sometimes so what is this caring? The fact that she cares, and the fact that she's advocating, and that she's working hard, and she has their back, and she's being honest, and all that stuff. What is that? Well, you could say that's her character. You could say it's her presence, maybe the energy that she brings. You could say it's her medicine, maybe. You could say, whatever it is, it's like that's what matters. And that is more of like who she is and how she is. It's not what she's saying or what she's doing. Now, obviously, what she's saying and what she's doing hopefully is a reflection of her character, for sure. However, it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be human. She can be nervous. We don't care about that. We want to know that you care about us. We want to know that you have our back. You want to know that you're being straight with us. We're wanting to know that you're doing everything you can to preserve our job. And and that's what we care about. And I would argue, or maybe argue, I would kind of suggest that that this is true in your life as well. The people around you, say your kids and your family members and your friends and your significant others or your employees or your coworkers, that's likely what they care about too. Because we care, we worry about saying just the right thing. But all you really need to do is show up and be authentic, like be true to who you are, which is a whole other, that's not always the easiest thing to do. But if you're just yourself and you care and you let them know that you care, that's what matters. And so it's almost like you can't screw it up. It's like just be yourself, be authentic, keep caring, say what comes to you, say and just be that way, and people will get what they need from you, and they will feel your love and they will feel your support. And that's what they're really after. That's my theory anyway. So this ought to be, as I hope it was for my boss, it was for me, because I might have got more out of it than my boss did, because I was just like, oh my God, the stuff that I say, when I worry about saying the right thing, that doesn't matter. I got a lot of value from it. Hopefully my boss did. Hopefully you do. But the feeling that it was for me, and I think it was for my boss, it was kind of like a relief. Like we can't screw it up. We just have to be ourselves. We just have to show up. We have to be in our heart, be in our presence, and be true to ourselves. And if we do that, everything takes care of itself. Even if people get upset with us, or they get their feelings hurt, or they're mad at us, or they feel like we betrayed them or let them down, it all works out. Maybe that's what they needed to experience. If you showed up and you were true to yourself and your heart was open and you were caring and you were giving it your all, you can't screw it up. So that is my video. That is my truth from the week, and I'm passing it on to you. And thank you so much for watching or for reading this, if that's what you're doing. And as you go through your week, just maybe remember that. Like, focus on being human, being yourself, being authentic, having your heart open, and then trusting that you really can't screw it up, that people will get what they need from you, and who you are and your medicine and your love will shine through and touch them in the way that it needs to. And I will see you in a week.